a different subject, the Vatican today said it would not bless same-sex unions. The president's a devout Catholic. Does he have a personal response to that?
I don't think he has a personal response to the Vatican, no. He continues to believe and support same-sex unions, as you know, and he's long had that position.
And then finally, does the president, the president's the head of the Democratic Party, what message is he sending by not calling on the New York governor to resign, number one? And number two, tomorrow's the usual weekly call with governors. Governor Cuomo is still the head of the National Governors Association, usually attends. Is he still welcome on the White House convened call?
Well, let me first say that, like everyone who continues to read stories, new developments seem to happen every day. We find them troubling. The president finds them troubling, hard to read, and every woman who steps forward needs to be treated with dignity and respect. The New York Attorney General is pursuing, of course, an independent investigation against Governor Cuomo, and that is appropriate. And the president believes that's appropriate, as does the vice president. The investigation needs to be both quick and thorough, consistent with how serious these allegations are. And of course, our objective, though, here continues to be to get the COVID pandemic under control. And we don't want the people of New York or any state to be impacted negatively. We will continue to work with a range of governors, including Governor Cuomo, who I would expect would join the call tomorrow. We'll leave that up to him. But in order to continue to coordinate on getting the pandemic under control and economic assistance out the door. Go ahead. Oh, we'll go to you, Steve, next. So go ahead.
Thanks. Just two quick ones. Given how fast-moving the situation has been, does the president believe that his administration has a handle on what's happening on the southern border right now?
We certainly do. And let me just give you a bit of an update on a couple of the steps that we're taking. First, let me say that, like COVID, obviously a different issue, but we recognize this is a big problem. The last administration left us a dismantled and unworkable system, and like any other problem, we are going to do everything we can to solve it. So our focus here is on solutions. Let me just walk you through a couple of the steps, and we've done this a little bit, but there's always, of course, developments on considerations that are underway. First, we've updated, or we have not, but CDC has updated guidelines to return to full capacity. This will help expand capacity to move children more quickly out of CBP facilities. That's an important step. The implementation of that is, of course, ongoing. There's now an embedding at the president's ask of HHS and ORR staff with CBP, which will allow government to more quickly ID, vet, confirm sponsors and family members of the unaccompanied minors, and will lead to quicker placement. Because as you know, or as all of you know, big issues here are expediting what's happening at the border. None of these Border Patrol facilities are made for children, and we want to move them as quickly as possible into shelters and then into homes. FEMA, this was an announcement over the weekend, is now supporting, providing support at the border, adding extra capacity to HHS for quick processing to avoid overcrowding. We hope this will help quickly get children into HHS and ORR facilities and placed with vetted sponsors and families. The president's very focused on expediting what's happening at the border at every step in the process. And then this happened on Friday, but it didn't receive there was a lot going on, so I just wanted to highlight. We rescinded the 2018 MOU between DHS and HHS, which we believe will encourage families and sponsors to come forward without fear of additional immigration enforcement. And we've seen this as an issue where family members or even sponsor families are worried that this will mean they will be tracked, and this rescinds that. We're also looking for additional facilities, and this remains a focus. So we recognize this is a problem. We're focused on addressing it. That's just 5 steps we're taking, and we're continuing to evaluate what additional steps can be taken to address the situation at the border.
Just one more real quick. For the $130 billion in education funding, one of the big issues with past pots of ed funding is it will be obligated, but getting it spent takes time. Will that be part of Gene's mandate, ensuring the money's not just obligated, but it actually goes out the door to make the fixes that these schools need to actually get students back into place?
He'll absolutely be coordinating with the Secretary Education, Secretary Cardona, who's going to be holding an education summit soon. I believe it might be next week. I'm not sure if they've announced it yet, so hopefully I'm not getting ahead of them. And part of that is working with schools and school districts on identifying best practices and sharing them, figuring out how to ensure that the schools who need funding get the funding. There will be a requirement that schools who get funding have to do a report within 30 days of how they will reopen their schools. So a big part of the implementation, of course, it will be led by the Department of Education, but that is a pivotal part of the rescue plan and one the Americans strongly support, and certainly Jean would have a role in coordinating that.